Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dibrugarh University, Professor Jiten Hazarika, eminent scholar and academician, the speaker of the day, respected Professor Prakash sir, invited guests and esteemed members of the Dibrugarh University fraternity, it's a matter of great honor to welcome you all to this distinguished lecture on Global Trends in Higher Education and National Education Policy 2020, organized by IQSC Dibrugarh University and sponsored by ICSSR Northeastern Regional Center, Shillong. This special event is a part of Dibrugarh University's observation of Amrit Kaal Vimarsha lecture series, Viksit Bharat 2047, an initiative of ICSSR under the Government of India, and also it is the opening lecture of Dibrugarh University's year-long Diamond Jubilee lecture series. Respected all, may I request you all to please stand up for the Dibrugarh University anthem.
Prane prane baje niyatan guru karma mahamilana raluke ujolai tui se kirbi guru prane prane baje prane baje niyatan guru karma niyatan guru karma tehar bina ki gyanar bandi jole jole preronar phool premaru mantri kubha kije oporu Umar guru jije kata onari kore kumarai dur bohudu prane prane baje Hamukha Mahabishwar Joy Jowar Ubhakurja Jivan Mahakamra
Thank you. Before proceeding to the next agenda, let me take the privilege to introduce before you the Honorable Speaker of the Day, Professor Prakash sir. Sir Professor Prakash, an academician without parallels, is a life dedicated to the educational arena of India, with specialization in avenues of higher education, educational planning, administration, talent identification and evaluation. Sir has among his qualifications PhD and DLE, to which is added the US Fulbright postdoctoral fellowship in Michigan University and also recognition from Harvard University for his excellent scholarship. Sir Professor Prakash is best known for serving as the chairman of the University Grants Commission in India, which follows his previous engagements there as secretary and vice chairman. Prior to his role at UGC, he held various significant positions, including the Vice Chancellor of the National University of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi, and leadership roles at several educational institutions. His contributions to the academia have been marked by his dedication to improving access to higher education, fostering research and innovation, and enhancing educational standards. Sir has also been constantly involved in various educational reforms, striving to make the Indian higher education system more globally competitive. Apart from this, his involvement in international assignments in association with UNESCO, World Bank, and the US International Visitors Leadership Program are noteworthy among many more. Sir, we are indeed privileged and honored to have you as the speaker of today's program, and we, Dibrugarh University fraternity, wholeheartedly welcome to the university and to this special talk program. Now, may I request Professor Aparup Das, Professor of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Nodal Officer of the Viksit Bharat Cell, Dibrugarh University, to felicitate Sir Professor Ved Prakash with Assamese traditional gamusa and a token of love and appreciation. Thank you and welcome once again, sir. Now, may I request Professor Ankur Vorali, Director, IQSC Dibrugarh University, to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jiten Hazarika, sir, to this event. Thank you. Now, may I request Professor Ankur Vorali, Professor of Mathematics and Director, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Dibrugarh University, to please deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor of our university, distinguished speaker, Professor Ved Prakash, esteemed colleagues, and my dear students. It is my privilege to welcome all of you to this distinguished lecture on Global Trends in Higher Education and National Education Policy 2020. Today's session promises to be both insightful and inspiring, and we are fortunate to have Professor Ved Prakash with us, an eminent scholar, a thought leader, and a former chairman of University Young Commission of India, to deliver the lecture here. Thank you, sir, for your consent and welcome to the university. Professor Ved Prakash has been at the forefront of shaping policies for education in India. His experience and deep understanding of the global trends in education make him the perfect person to lead us through this critical discussion. The contribution of Professor Prakash in the educational landscape of India have been invaluable, and his inputs regarding the NEP 2020 will definitely help us to have some unique insight and understand the future of Indian higher education, as well as the positioning of Indian education in the global arena. This particular workshop is sponsored by ICSSR NERC under the Amrit Kaal Vimarsha lecture series, Viksit Bharat 2047. Our university has completed 60 years of its existence this year, and we are celebrating Diamond Jubilee. And this lecture marked as the inaugural lecture of the Diamond Jubilee lecture series of our university. With this note, I welcome all of you once again to this lecture. Let us have open minds to all the possibilities that lie ahead and commit ourselves to build an education system that empowers students, foster innovation, and strengthen the position of India in the global knowledge economy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I humbly request Professor Jiten Hazarika, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dibrugarh University, to inaugurate today's lecture program with his invaluable words.
Good morning to all. Honorable Speaker of today's program, Professor Prakash, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty members from different departments and centers, officers and employees, my dear students of Dibrugarh University and media persons. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this significant lecture on global trends in higher education and the National Education Policy 2020 to be delivered by Professor Prakash. This lecture will mark the inaugural lecture of the Diamond Jubilee Lecture Series of Dibrugarh University. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Prakash for accepting our invitation. As our anchor has already highlighted about his achievement, thus I want to add more, maybe repeat. As an academician, he dedicated his life to the academic arena of the country, which specialization in the avenues of higher education, educational planning, administration, talent identification and evaluation. Professor Prakash is a D-Lead besides being a US Fulbright postdoctoral fellow in Michigan University. His involvement in international assignment in association with the UNESCO, World Bank, and the US International Visitors Leadership Program are noteworthy. Awards and recognition, as she has told, have been bestowed on him from reputed institutions of education, state and central governments, and international platforms also. He was a nominee of the President of India and chancellors of state universities on various search-cum-selection committees. He has also served as the chairman of governing councils of many important organizations. His tenure as the vice chairman of the UGC from 2009 to 2011 and as the chairman of the UGC from 2011 to 2017, actually from 2011 to 2013, he was working as a officiating UGC chairman, then from 2013 as a full-time chairman from 2013 to 2017. And he has made significant changes in the Indian higher education system, emphasizing equality, autonomy, and innovation. These are the three main components during this period, long period actually. Today we are actually lucky enough that such a prominent figure for Professor Prakash ji is with us, and this is the first lecture of our Diamond Jubilee year. Respected audience present here, at present we are at a transformative juncture in the history of higher education in India. The NEP 2020 is a transformative policy aimed at overhauling the Indian education system. It reflects a paradigm shift in teaching and learning methodologies, emphasizing holistic education, skill development, and the integration of technology in imparting education. This policy is crucial for adapting to global educational trends and enhancing the quality of education across India. This policy heralds a new era of learning and teaching, promises to reshape not just our educational institutions, but also the future of our nation. In the rapidly evolving global landscape, higher education is witnessing unprecedented changes. With the advent of cutting-edge technologies, increasing digitization, and ever-expanding global knowledge economy, the expectations from universities and colleges have grown manifold. Our education system must rise to these challenges by nurturing skills that are not only relevant today, but also be pivotal tomorrow. From interdisciplinary learning to critical thinking, creativity to digital literacy, our institutions need to prepare students for the demands of the 21st century. We stand at a crossroads where our actions and decisions will determine the future trajectory of education in India and its roles in the global landscape. I request each one of you to engage deeply with the ideas that will be shared in today's lecture. I am sure that insights of Professor Prakash during his lecture will be invaluable for us for understanding the intersection of global trends with local education policies. With these words, I declare that first lecture of the Diamond Jubilee lecture series of the Dibrugarh University is inaugurated. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, for your inaugural address. May I now request eminent scholar and academician, the speaker of the day, Professor Ved Prakash Sir, to please deliver his lecture on Global Trends in Higher Education and National Education Policy 2020. Sir.
Esteemed Vice Chancellor of Dibrugarh University, Professor Jiten Hazarika ji, Director of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Dr. Ankur Barhali, this girl who is anchoring today's program, I do not know her name, distinguished members of the faculty of this esteemed institution of higher learning, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a matter of great honor and a very special privilege for me to be with you this morning, delivering a talk in your Amrit Kaal lecture series. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jiten Hazarika. Sir, I'm extremely obliged to you for giving me the opportunity to talk to the teachers on this auspicious occasion. I'm also grateful to each one of you for having taken your time off from your routine engagement to be with us this morning. I'm not an expert actually. I keep learning by way of interacting with the fellow colleagues from all over the world. We have an added advantage as teachers that we remain in the midst of the scholars all the time. And these scholars keep teaching us without charging any tuition fee. We do not realize it, but what a great value do we receive from the enlightened minds who are available in such a large number, and such enlightened minds are not available together in any other social organization than the universities and colleges. So we are very fortunate guys actually. Today what I propose to do is I am going to talk to you about the global trends in higher education, so that at a time when we are implementing the intents of the National Education Policy 2020, we could know where do we stand vis-a-vis the leading institutions of the world. And I'll begin with the role of society in education. The society has played a very significant role in the spread of education. And it is primarily because of the contribution of the society that education has continued to evolve and extended its reach since the dawn of human history. We very fondly remember the role played by people like Dr. Rajaram Mohan Roy, who approached the then Governor General Warren Hastings in Calcutta and asked him to articulate a policy of education for the countrymen and women. And the Governor General did not do anything for a very long period of time, and then Dr. Rajaram Mohan Roy thought that we must take up this as a crusade. And in 1817, it was the singular effort of Dr. Rajaram Mohan Roy that he established the Hindu College in the city of Calcutta, which later on became a Presidency College, and now it is known as Presidency University. We also fondly remember Thakur Rabindranath Tagore, who set up Shanti Niketan in 1916 in Bolpur city, 250 miles away from Calcutta. Similarly, we remember very fondly Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, who established Banaras Hindu University in 1916. We also remember Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who established Aligarh Muslim University around that time. We also remember Jamshedji Tata, who set up Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 1909. So the society has played a very important role in the creation of educational institutions. If you look at the international level, when the world was devastated during World War I, the world leaders had assembled in the city of Geneva in 1924. And for the first time, they came up with a resolution that everyone has the right to education. And they expressed it in a very simple terms. Remember it. What beautifully that resolution was articulated. They said, and I quote, "Children must be provided the tools for their natural development." They did not have the kind of arrogance that somebody else will contribute to their development. They said that children must be provided the tools for their natural development. Those who are backward should be supported by the nation states, and that the children must be put in a place where from they can make a decent living and contribute to an egalitarian society. Unquote. Not much had happened. The world was again pushed into another war in 1939, which continued until 1945. And then again the world leaders had assembled in the city of, this time, Paris, and came up with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I would draw your attention to Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They tried to split the earlier three assertions of 1924, and what they said? They could not contribute much. But they said, and I quote, number one, that Article 26 has got three parts, but I'm focusing only on part one. In part one, they said that everyone has the right to education. Number two, elementary education shall be made compulsory. 3. Elementary education shall be made available free of charge throughout the world. Fourth, professional and technical education shall also be made generally available to all. And fifth, they said that higher education should also be accessible to all on the basis of merit. Unquote. Now you can draw your own inferences out of these 5 assertions of Article 26 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But if you carry out today a dispassionate analysis of the leading countries of the world, or you can say the developed economies, you would find that they are the nations which have evolved their education system around these 5 stipulations. They have not only universalized elementary education, they have universalized school education of 12 long years. They have created outstanding facilities for the professional and technical education in their respective countries. And they have accorded the topmost priority to quality in higher education. But if we analyze our own system, and if we consider 1947 as the base, in 77 years' time, we have not been able to universalize even elementary education in our country. Every class happens to be a terminal class for some, and they do not want to leave at their own will. They get pushed out of the system. The system does not support them, and as a result of which we brand them as dropouts. We have not been able to create outstanding professional and technical education in our country thus far. And higher education, unfortunately, is not in the reckoning at the global level. This is one thing which I wanted to begin with. Now, of all the UN organizations, UNESCO is an organization which relatively seems to have done a better work. And UNESCO has been a great champion of free education at all levels, including free education at higher education level. There is a report brought out by the UNESCO 2 years ago which reveals that there are 46 countries of 146 member countries of the UNESCO, 46 countries in the world which have mandated free higher education by law. And of these 46 countries, 20% countries are low income and lower middle income countries which have mandated free higher education by law. The report also says that if higher education is made available free of charge, it not only increases the social demand, it also increases the educational attainments. And they have proved it on the basis of empirical evidences. And which is quite true, because if large number of children are left out because of the financial constraints, we stand to lose out the talented children in a large number. Because talent is evenly distributed in a sizable section of the society, that is a time-tested theory. Talent is not only available in the city of Guwahati or Bangalore or Calcutta or Bombay and Delhi. Talent is also available in the city of Morigam and Dhenkanal and Bolangir or Gwalpada and Kalahandi and Nellore and Guntur. The responsibility lies with the nation state to identify that talent and to nurture that talent and transform that talent into a responsible citizen who not only increases his or her own productivity but also contributes to the overall GDP of the nation. If you look at the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, we find that at the international level, 235 million children are enrolled in higher education. 235 million. And if you look at the gross enrollment ratio, it varies widely. I mean, there are economies in this world wherein the gross enrollment ratio in higher education is as high as 84%, 79%. You see the OECD countries, you see, the countries like United States of America, Germany, Russia, etc. South Korea for that matter. But the gross enrollment ratio in higher education in India is today 28%. It was only 25% when we brought out our national education policy in July 2020. And we have expressed our intent in the national education policy that we are going to increase the gross enrollment ratio to 50%, which means that every second child in the age cohort of 18 to 23 is going to be in higher education. But if you look at the variations in our country, there are states wherein the gross enrollment ratio in higher education is as high as 47%. But we also have states in our country wherein the gross enrollment ratio is as low as 16%. Huge variations. We have pockets in this country wherein the number of higher educational institutions density is as high as 56 per 100,000 population. But we also have pockets like Kuch Bihar and Birbhum and Bankura wherein the institutional density per 100,000 population is as low as 5 or 6. What does it signify? It signifies that the growth of higher education in our country has been arbitrary, and it has been done in a very haphazard manner. We do not have a proper perspective plan. We have not taken care of every pocket of the country to make sure that children have access to higher education at an affordable cost. We are living in a highly stratified society, wherein, the society which is having hierarchical values and attitudes which are entrenched in our society. And this is neither good from the political perspective nor good from the economic perspective. We need to understand that. And therefore, what lesson can we draw out of it is that we need to organize ourselves and make sure that children have access to quality higher education at an affordable cost. We have taken 77 long years to reach at the level of 28%, and in the policy we have set a goal for ourselves that we are going to increase the gross enrollment ratio to 50% in 15 years' time, which is unlikely unless we grow at an annual growth rate of 4.2%. And how can we do that? It is a doable proposition, but we can do it only if we use the residual capacity of existing institutions in this country. We have such small-sized institutions in our country wherein the total enrollment on the campus is only 400, 300. With the strength of 500, we are running university. And therefore, we need to use the residual capacity of existing institutions. That is one lesson we must draw. And the second, we should set up newer institutions in areas where the institutional density is lesser than the national average. And the third thing, we can do it provided we switch over from the conventional mode of teaching and learning to the hybrid mode of teaching and learning. to the online mode of teaching and learning, to the ODL mode of teaching and learning. Until now, we were counting only on two modes of delivery, that is the open and distance learning mode of delivery and the face-to-face mode of delivery. Now the information and communication technology tools are available with us, and therefore we must maximize them for the purposes of increasing the gross enrollment ratio in higher education. Another lesson that we need to draw, we are a poor country, but today if we start comparing ourselves with the country of 1947, that is not a very wise comparison. Today we are far more resourceful as a nation than what we had in 1947. And in 1947 we had come up with such fantastic models of institutions of higher learning, and we were providing education almost free of charge. I mean, the institutions were either grant-in-aid institutions or public institutions, and they were providing quality education. We have not been able to come up with a different model than the model which was created in early 50s in the name of IIT system. If today we have come up with ICERs, and today if we have come up with triple ITs, they are the models which is a replica of the IIT model. And in a country like ours, if internal recovery becomes a norm, then an exception, then we are going to lose out large number of children from higher education. Recovery has become a norm now. The other day I was talking, yesterday we were discussing, Professor Jiten Hazarika ji and myself, that we are coming up with self-financing programs. What are these programs? These are highly exclusive programs. We make the lives of the children miserable by forcing them to pay through their nose in the name of the self-financing programs. And why are we doing it? We are doing it because we do not have adequate resources. Why are we doing it? Because education is not onto our priority list as a country. You move on to the other part. Globally, the participation rates of women in higher education has increased much faster than the participation rates of boys. The women gross enrollment ratio globally in higher education has increased from 19% to 43% as compared to that of 19% to 37% among men. This is an international phenomenon. If you look the latest survey brought out by the Ministry of Education, you would find that the gross enrollment ratio of women is 28.5% as compared to that of the gross enrollment ratio of men, 28.4%. Though there is a very marginal difference, but the difference is there, which shows us that the girls have outranked the boys at the national level. And these variations are more pronounced in certain states. You see the state of Tamil Nadu. You would find a difference of 10 percentage points. Girls are 10% higher than boys in the state of Tamil Nadu. Almost similar is the situation in the state of Punjab, where the gross enrollment ratio of girls is 30%, and that of the boys is 25%. We are not bothering even about these variations, which are very dangerous. While we should feel happy about it, but if the boys are going down, then that should be a matter of concern for us as a civil society. The another thing about the global higher education is that you find large number of children in higher education globally are coming from the lower middle class and middle class families, which means that the campuses of higher educational institutions are being diversified in terms of students' population. And this diversification warrants flexible learning pathways so that the children can have the opportunity not only in terms of multiple entry and multiple exit options, but also the freedom to choose what to study, how to study, where to study, and when to study. And the leading institutions of the world are coming up with flexible learning pathway policies. We have introduced a part of it in our national education policy when we have said that at undergraduate level we will have multiple exit and multiple entry options. But there is no preparation for that. It is only on a piece of paper. It would require additional human resources. It would require additional expertise on the campuses. It would require additional amount of resources. Ladies and gentlemen, there are about 11 different flexible learning pathways available at the international level. And why the universities are forced to do it? Because universities have recognized at the international level that each learner has its own learning trajectory. She doesn't have the capacity to finish the program in one go. She would like to stay with the university only for 1 year or 2 years and go back to the world of work, make some money, and would again like to come back to the university. We'll have to think about it. The another issue that I would like to highlight is about the skilling gaps that we have. In my time, we used to earn degrees and we will have ample opportunity to enter into the world of work. We were not living in a fiercely competitive world. Your world is more competitive than my world. And your children's world is going to be much more competitive. There would be a fierce competition amongst the men and women in 10 years from hence or 15 years from hence. And as a result of which, the leading institutions of the world are coming up with tailor-made programs to provide skills which are needed by the modern world in the form of wearable technology, in the form of cloud computing, in the form of artificial intelligence, in the form of virtual reality, in the form of virtual augmentation, and in the form of automated assessment of a student's potential. We are not even organizing discourses on these pertinent issues which are of paramount significance. And today, you are having non-traditional students on the campuses. I mean, not on our campuses, but on the campuses of the leading institutions of the world. Who are these non-traditional students? These non-traditional students are like Professor Jiten Hazarika and Professor Sharma and myself and Ankur. We have certain skills, but we find that in the wake of the changing circumstances, at times we find ourselves highly inadequate. And if we have to ensure our relevance in our chosen field, then we will have to upskill ourselves. And for upskilling and reskilling, we'll have to go back to the campuses. And therefore, the leading institutions are organizing tailor-made programs. We have not yet started thinking about it. We have not been able to provide vocational orientation to education at school level, nor at higher education level, though in the national education policy we have said that 50% of the children, both in school education and higher education, would be given the exposure to one of the vocational programs. You don't have to, in any society, you would need more number of people with lower skills middle skills and upper middle skills. In any society you see, you will have very few people in the topmost rung. And therefore, if we want to become a vibrant society, we'll have to empower our youth with the skills which are needed for them to stand on their own feet, so that their minds are not controlled by the authoritative forces in the country, so that they have the capacity to think what is good for them and what is not good for them. And it is for that purpose that we need to provide vocational orientation to education. You go to any multinational companies. I had an opportunity to visit the Facebook in the United States of America, and I was interacting with a group of workers there, and I found out that fairly large number of them, Sharmaji, were not degree holders. But they are making a very handsome salary because they have acquired those skills which are needed by the Facebook. We are not providing skills. We are only sending the good morning messages right early morning. And the Facebook guys were telling, sir, your country is such that it chokes our system early morning. Because everyone is sending the good morning messages. This is another challenge before us as institutions of higher learning insofar as skilling is concerned. I come to another aspect, and that is that of the interdisciplinary teaching and learning. When I studied chemistry and when I was taught periodic table, I was taught periodic table like a chart. My teacher has never ever told me the application of sodium and magnesium and potassium to me. Today we realize it when one of our relations is put onto the ventilator and doctors inform us that the magnesium level has gone down and the calcium is gone down, or the potassium level has gone down. When I was taught photosynthesis, I was taught it as a biological process. I was never taught that it is also a physical process, it is also a chemical process, there is a geography involved in it, there is a language involved in it, there is a mathematics involved in it. The leading institutions have already switched over to interdisciplinary teaching and learning. And I am sorry to say it, that we have not talked a word about interdisciplinary teaching and learning in the national education policy. There are only 17 pages in the higher education section. You go today and find it out. We have talked about interdisciplinary research, transdisciplinary research, but not about interdisciplinary teaching and learning. Research comes later. First, we will have to switch over to interdisciplinary teaching and learning. It is not an easy task. When you are asking a physics professor to sit and develop a thematic program with a professor of sociology or professor of economics, they may not like to talk to each other. You have a department of physics across the street and a department of philosophy. The physics professor thinks that I am a super boss and this guy does not know anything. I think the time has come when we need to revisit our existing curricular provisions and switch over to thematic approach of teaching and learning, project-based approach of teaching and learning. When we will have to think about team teaching, this is a doable proposition, but it requires collaboration, it requires collegiality, and there are umpteen advantages of that. In a single downpour in the national capital of ours, the Delhi gets drowned. And they say this is the problem of the engineering. That is not the problem of engineering alone. There is an economics involved in it. There is a sociology involved in it. There is a climatology involved in it. There is a physics involved in it, mathematics involved in it, philosophy is involved in it. And therefore, my dear friends, we must organize discourses and see as to how can we switch over from the conventional mode of teaching and learning to interdisciplinary mode of teaching and learning. We can make a beginning. I mean, two departments can come together. And similarly, what are we focusing on insofar as research is concerned? We are focusing only on disciplinary research. If I ask Sharma ji to prepare a proposal, he prepare a proposal in statistics. Okay? And if he prepares a proposal which involves statistics, mathematics and physics, he would say, sir, the funding agency is not going to finance my project. There are problems. But we need to switch over to interdisciplinary research. And why am I saying that? I am saying that because the real complex problem of the world cannot be solved on the strength of a single discipline. You see the Nobel awardees of the last 2 decades. Majority of the Nobel awardees are those who have defied the specific boundaries of a particular discipline. And therefore we should draw lessons from there and come up with interdisciplinary research programs. That is what is required. I mean, one can say that the terminology of one discipline is altogether different than the terminology of another discipline. We will be creating confusion. And that teacher from one discipline will never sit with the teacher of another discipline. We are still continuing with disciplinary research. We have not even transited to multidisciplinary research. Whereas the leading universities of the world have transited from multidisciplinary research to interdisciplinary research. And when you go in for interdisciplinary teaching and learning, when the children are going to assimilate the knowledge of physics and chemistry together and life sciences together, they will be far more creative than what they are today. They will have a wider world's view when you are interconnecting different domains of knowledge and trying to address the particular problem which the world is facing today. Now, if you look at the research, how come that United States of America and Great Britain, they are capturing the ace position in research? Because they have invested enormous amount of resources. They have created a culture. The United States of America is contributing 700,000 research papers annually. The only country which has outranked them is China. Today, China's share in global research, ladies and gentlemen, is 19.8%. Whereas the US share in global research is only 17.5%. Okay? The share of UK in global research is 7.8%. Our share of research, in global research, our share in global research is only as much as that of the United Kingdom. We are far bigger a country than the UK. But the reason for that is what? That the US is spending 3.49% of its GDP on research and development. Great Britain is contributing 2.9% of its GDP on research and development. China is also spending 2.5% of its GDP on research and development. And how much are we spending? We are spending 0.65% of our GDP on research and development. And then people like Hazarika and Prakash, they are asked questions, how come our universities are not figuring in global ranking? Our leaders are not looking into these insights. They need to look into these insights. They need to draw lessons from there. And when you look at the global ranking, I was looking into the QS 2025 global ranking, and I found out that of the 10 universities, top 10 universities, 7 of them are from United States of America, 2 from Great Britain. I think I'm making a mistake. 1 is from Switzerland and 1 is from Singapore. And if you look at the top 50 of them, 26 universities come from the United States of America. And I was looking into our own institutions. About 90 universities and institutions of national importance had participated from our country in QS ranking 2025. And I found out that it was only IIT Delhi which has been ranked 190th. Indian Institute of Science Bangalore is ranked 211th, which, is a very premier institution of ours. And some of these institutions have slipped their ranking from the earlier years. And the reason is very obvious, that they are not getting adequate resources. And we are not bothering. When I was with the University Grants Commission, I used to face this question before the parliamentary standing committees and parliamentary consultative committees, that how come your universities are not figuring in the first 100 or first 200? So we can take great insights out of these developments at the international level. The another thing, we were discussing with the Honorable Vice Chancellor about the internationalization of higher education, and Sharma ji and Ankur and Jiten ji, they were telling that we have international students now coming to Dibrugarh University, which is a very happy state of affairs. But you look at the international level, United States of America continues to be the most sought after destination at the global level for centuries. US alone is hosting more than 1 million international students. Then comes Canada. Then comes Great Britain. Great Britain is hosting about 600,000 international students. Then Australia. And our neighbor, China, is hosting as much as 500,000 international students. And the total number of international students that we are hosting in our country is 47,000. Because we have not yet come up with proactive policies to attract international students. We have not created the kinds of facilities which the international students are used to. We need to do that. Inviting international students will be a great advantage to our children. Because when we interact with children coming from diversified backgrounds, from diversified culture, we stand to gain a lot. But in order to gaining from somebody's culture, one needs to understand his or her own culture first. Only then you can enter into the culture of somebody else. How often do we organize discourses on contemporary and on issues of contemporary and historical significance on the campuses of our institutions? We need to do that. We need to create altogether a different kind of culture to internationalize the Indian higher education system. We cannot go on basking in the past all the time, that we had Nalanda and we have Takshila and we have Vikramshila, and that the students from far and wide used to come, and gone are those days. We are living in the present. We have to see where do we stand in this fiercely competitive world. Another serious problem that we are facing today is about the maximization of the use of information and communication technology. We are mad after ICT. I'm not averse to that. But I'm averse to the idea of neglecting the humanities and social sciences and languages. We are undermining these basic disciplines which are the vehicles on which you can ride and move forward. You cannot move forward without language. You cannot move forward without philosophy, without psychology, without geography. These are very important disciplines. But you move from one campus to another campus, and if you are moving in private institutions of higher learning, you would find that they come up only with programs which are market-oriented programs. And they talk about the placement, and they take a lot of pride in that. Why should placement be the responsibility of an educational institution at all? If we teach well, the children would automatically be placed. They would find decent job. But now the institutions are ranked on the basis of the placement. So your job, rather than teaching and learning, has become that of the placement. And you are inviting the placement agencies. And then, when you find that even the IITs are not able to place 100%, then you say, what is happening? What is happening is that in this world, there would always be a situation that there would be a surge in some professions and there would be a decline in some professions. And for leaders like Jiten Hazarika, the challenge is to anticipate these trends, come up with newer programs, but should not allow to die down the basic domains of knowledge. That is the message that I want. So for you, ladies and gentlemen, you should focus special attention on humanities and social sciences and languages. You can take pride that our basic sciences departments are outstanding departments, and the pharmacy department is an outstanding department. Take pride in that. That's a very good thing. But don't let the languages and humanities and social sciences to die down. Please, for heaven's sake, don't let it happen. The another thing that I would like to share with you is that universities, leading universities of the world, are coming up with high opportunity programs. I think as teachers, we need to look into our existing curricular provisions and see what are the newer programs we have added to the list of our existing curricular provisions. And if we find that there is a need to introduce the wearable technology, the cloud computing, artificial intelligence, we should not be lagging behind. We must add newer programs in those domains of knowledge, because the world is going to require more number of skilled workforce in those areas of specialization. Therefore, we should do that. The time. How much time? 10 minutes. Okay. I would like to sum up by saying that the National Education Policy is a very good document. Policy, what is a policy actually? Policy is a statement of intents. So we have expressed our intents in a variety of ways. Like that we are going to have a board of governors now. So we would be switching over from the present mode of governance to the board of governors mode of governance. Okay. Jiten Hazarika will now, from now on, if at all we come up with a legislative framework, he would be appointed by the board of governors and not by the chancellor of the state. Okay? I think we need to look into every single intent of the national education policy and try to identify what are the recommendations which are implementable, what kind of preparations do we need to make in order to translate those intents into reality, be it relating to the giving vocational orientation to higher education, or be it transforming 56,000 higher educational institutions in this country only into 3 sets of institutions: research-intensive universities and teaching-intensive universities, and colleges, autonomous colleges with degree awarding powers. When a college located in Morigaon, or when a college located in Guntur in Andhra Pradesh or Shimoga in Karnataka, when they are going to award their own degrees, how are you going to handle the disparities in academic attainments? What kind of chaos are we going to create in the society? What kind of measures do we need to undertake? Even today, I can say it without having, on the basis of the perception actually, which is based on general observation. I have not gone into the empirical evidences. You are an affiliating university, isn't it? You have about, how many colleges affiliated with you, sir? 170 colleges. You have one curriculum, you have one syllabus, you are conducting single examination on the basis of which you are awarding the degrees to the students. But the pass outs of the chemistry department of the university campus and the pass outs of some college in Johrat or in some neighboring place would not be looked at from the same perspective by the world of work because of the disparities in academic attainments. I am going to suggest to you an approach, though we have talked about the outcome-based approach in our national education policy, but if you come up with subject-specific benchmarking of learning outcomes based on using an outcome-based approach, you can narrow down these disparities in academic attainments to a large extent. I am not going to so. In educational situation, you cannot have 1:1 correspondence. Because one of the basic realities of teaching and learning is that even in the best of the circumstances, you cannot predict the outcome. It depends upon the scholarship, the competence of the teachers, but it also depends upon the responsibility of the individual learner. If the children are oblivious about their own duties and responsibilities, no matter how hard you work, they will not be able to come up to your expectations. And therefore, my ladies and gentlemen, think about it. If we can prepare a matrix at the level of the university by involving the teachers, even from the colleges with proven track record, and come up with a matrix which should have 7-8 steps only, you can narrow down these disparities in academic attainments to a large extent. If you do that, you would be doing a great service to the children who are coming to you for accessing higher education. When we were students, why should I study geography at all? Why should I study history at all? Does a history teacher go in the class and tell the student as to why they should study it? Never. You give me the duty of teaching atomic structure or molecular rearrangement, I will go straight away and I will start teaching atomic structure and molecular rearrangement without letting them know why should they study it, how is it going to impact their life. So if we write 2 paragraphs, small paragraphs to let the students know as to why they should study, it will develop curiosity in the minds of the learner. They will be curious to gain new knowledge. Very simple step. The second thing is, if we define the scope, photosynthesis could be taught at the level of grade 9, at the level of grade 12, and also at the level of undergraduate. But if we define the scope, the students would know it in advance how far they have to go. And similarly, if the teacher teaching in Johrat knows that in order to transact this topic in a meaningful manner, she is expected to perform the following tasks in the class before the students, and she is expected to assign the following assignments in the form of the group projects or individual projects or home assignment or quizzes, she would be doing a better job. And if that is decided collectively by the teachers teaching a particular domain of knowledge, then the academic attainments, disparities in academic attainments to can be brought down to a large level. I have offered my services to Professor Jiten Hazarika ji that should you decide to organize a 3-day workshop wherein you can identify prominent teachers from a particular discipline, 2 or 3 teachers, and if we can develop a template by taking only one topic and we can develop this matrix, that matrix can be used as a template for these subsequent topics in a particular semester or in the year's program. And he has kindly agreed that he would like to do that. So that is the exercise that we would like to do. Now, the last point that I would like to sum up my lecture by saying that we need to draw lessons from the leading institutions of the world. We cannot transfer the culture of Harvard and Stanford and UCL Berkeley or Chicago University or Pennsylvania University on our campuses, but we can certainly pick up something out of those institutions and we can implement them, we can experiment them in our own context. This is one thing. Adaptability is the new rule of the present game, and therefore we should do that. We should maximize the use of information and communication technology in offering our programs. The another thing is that we should also think about developing the generic abilities amongst our learners. When we were studying science, we were told that you don't have to bother about the language. And which is why we are churning out tongue-tied children. You may be very good in your area of study, but if you are not able to articulate systematically and in an organized manner, you leave a very poor impression on the minds of the people actually. And therefore language is as much important for a literature person as for the basic science person. These are the generic abilities which are not focused upon in our regular teaching and learning. Like we talk about problem solving, we talk about analytical ability, we talk about critical thinking, but how these abilities are developed? Do we ever organize discourses on them? Such abilities can be developed provided you consciously make them the part of your existing mathematics discipline or chemistry discipline or geology or botany or history and geography. That is what is needed. Apart from that, the last point that I would like to share with you is about the values. In the policy we have talked about the values. I will quickly sum up. There are, ladies and gentlemen, only 2 sources of values. Values based on universal perception and values based on constitutional imperatives. When you are revisiting your existing curricular provisions, please make sure that you integrate those values in your existing curricular provisions. Values based on universal perception like honesty, truth, integrity, perseverance, respect, dignity. These are all universal values. But equally important are the values based on constitutional imperatives. And what are those constitutional imperatives? We will have to look into our own constitution, which talks about the promotion of composite culture of this country, which talk about respecting the ideals of freedom struggle, which talks about the preservation of the natural resources including lakes, rivers, ponds and wildlife, which talks about striving to achieve excellence individually and collectively so that we can continually grow as a nation, a state, which talks about treating individuals with dignity. And the last thing, I would like to quote one from the book The Emperor's Writings by Dirk Collier. I am not an agent of the publisher, but I would like to share a beautiful quote. This is a fiction though, but it includes some research work as well. Akbar is writing to his son Jahangir. Emperor's Writings is the title of the book. And when Akbar writes, he wrote, and I quote, "My dear son Jahangir, I know that you want to become a king, but you do not know that a king has to conquer himself first before becoming the king. My dear Jahangir, you do not know that there are people who are mad in search of knowledge, and those who acquire knowledge, large number of them do not know that there is also something higher than knowledge, and that is what is known as wisdom. My dear Jahangir, those who acquire wisdom, 99.99% of them do not know that there is also something higher than wisdom, and that is what is known as truth. Jahangir, I want you to follow those who are mad in search of knowledge, emulate those who are in search of wisdom, but be wary of those who claim to have found the truth, because truth is the ultimate possession of the Lord." Unquote. As teachers, I think we need to motivate our children and tell them the difference between knowledge, wisdom, and truth. And all of us are duty bound to search truth. The day we enter into the teaching profession, our primary responsibility is to search the truth. We have searched a tiny part of that, but much remains to be searched. With this, I would like to express my very sincere thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jiten Hazarika, for having given me this opportunity to be with you and to share some of my thoughts about the global trends in higher education. I am also extremely grateful to each one of you for being such a wonderful audience. If you have any questions, I raised certain issues. I myself do not have an answer to all those questions, but I would like to answer to your questions if you have any, and if the time permits. With this, sir, thank you very much indeed.
Sincere thanks to respected Professor Prakash sir for sharing with Dibrugarh University fraternity your reflective, in-depth and invaluable analysis and suggestions on very pertaining issues of higher education scenario of India in context of the global platforms. Sir, we sincerely aspire and look forward for your guidance and kind support in upcoming days also for realizing Dibrugarh University's course for excellence in higher education. Thank you once again, sir. Now, may I allow to open the hall for questions, queries, and comments, if any, from the audiences. I'd like.
Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker of the Day, Honorable Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen. I am Polas Jyoti Soliha from Department of Education. With the feeling of honor and privilege to hear from you, sir, may I request your response on the question, what is the importance of soft skills in NEP 2020 and what are the strategies? Sir.
Soft skills are extremely important. We divide skills in a variety of ways actually. But generally the impression is that soft skills are like language, like professional skills in computer, program coding, that is also a soft skill. Hard skills are the skills which are relating to the technical aspects. But somebody can question and say that programming is also a technical ability. But there is no hard and fast rule, insofar as the division of soft skills and hard skills are concerned, but skills which are relating to the machines and industry, which involves the things like fitter, electrician, welder, these are branded as hard skills, and soft skills are skills which are relating to computers, which are relating to language. Communication is a soft skill. Coordination is also a soft skill. Okay? So this is how we make distinction. But soft skills are very, very important, and they are gradually gaining more prominence in today's time. So that is my answer to you.
Very good morning to Honorable Chief Speaker of the event, Professor Prakash sir, and Honorable Vice Chancellor of our University, Jiten Hazarika sir, and everyone present here. Myself, Kohismita Bora, a student of Department of History. I want to know then, how do we can see the coming of large numbers of private universities in the present scenario, and what will be the impact of the existence of these private universities? Thank you.
Say, until 1990, we were managing the higher education system through grant in aid institutions and the public institutions. But because of the liberalization and globalization in 1990s, we had opened up the sector for the private service providers. There is nothing wrong about it. If I take you back during the initial years, and I gave you the examples of Shanti Niketan and Aligarh Muslim University and Banaras Hindu University and Indian Institute of Science, they were all private. They were the institutions which were started through private initiatives. High quality higher education in the past had come through private initiatives in the past. Unfortunately, what is happening now is, since we are making distinction between a public university and a private university, and because of the kind of comforts which the students are demanding and the kinds of facilities these private institutions are creating, the education there is becoming more and more expensive. This is one of the issues. And only a handful of the private institutions of higher learning are conscious about the quality. Majority of them are not. That is the irony of the situation. So one of the impacts is that the higher education is becoming more and more expensive. The cost of higher education is increasing in leaps and bounds, and the quality is going down. I think we, in certain cases, for instance, at the global level, the federal governments and the provincial governments are not making distinction between a private university and a public university insofar as research funding is concerned. So we'll have to look into our existing model for the purposes of supporting these institutions so that they can also bring down the cost of education. And so that more and more number of children can access quality education and at an affordable cost. We'll have to make some amendments in our approach that we have been following thus far. That is what is needed. Quality is a multi-dimensional, multi-level and a dynamic concept. No one has been able to articulate quality thus far all over the world. There was a conference held in 2019 in China, And the leaders, educational leaders, they were not able to arrive at a universal definition of quality. Eventually, they thought that quality is a social construct. It will remain a moving target. The bar will go up and up and up and up automatically. So quality will continue to be an issue. And let me also, leave one message with you. What is education? Education is about enlightening the mind of a person by an enlightened mind. And if education is about enlightening the mind by an enlightened mind, how can education be bereft of quality? I am raising this issue. How can education be bereft of quality? The concept of quality seeps into education when one of the or both the stakeholders, the teachers and the students, fail to achieve the educational expectations. We have certain expectations from the teachers, but we also have certain expectations from the students. And when they fail to achieve those educational expectations, only then the concept of quality seeps into education. Thank you.
Good afternoon, respected Speaker Sir and Honorable Vice Chancellor. First of all, I would like to thank you for your valuable speech. My name is Maria Indwar. I am a student of 3rd semester from the Department of Political Science. My question is, although the new education policy is more focused on multidisciplinary courses and skill enhancement, it's necessary that the program should also align more directly with the employment criteria, because many youths, when unemployed in government jobs, go for private sector jobs, which have different high demands. So how can these challenges be met to address the employment situation among the youth?
If we train our students very well in any area of specialization, the employment will not be a problem at all. I am not of the opinion that we should offer only the market-oriented program to increase the employability of. No. Employability requires different kinds of generic abilities. And if we consciously promote those generic abilities through teaching of different domains of knowledge, if we train their minds to think logically, if we train their minds to think hierarchically, if we train their minds to make distinction between what is right and what is wrong, that training will be good enough for them to find a gainful employment. Well, that is what I personally feel. But that is lacking. In fact, generic abilities are of paramount significance, and they are not explicitly mentioned in our curriculum. We think that they are the side products and they will eventually get developed. But if we develop them consciously, and we can develop them consciously only when we move from the conventional mode of teaching and learning to interdisciplinary mode of teaching and learning, when we moved towards the thematic approach, when we have project-based teaching and learning, when you are going to assimilate the knowledge of different domains and start connecting one discipline with another discipline to address the complex problems, then you will develop the capacity the kind of capacity which would be required by the modern world. That is what I personally feel. Because if you are going to work with somebody on a project, you will have to make adjustment. And life is all about adjustment. We do not teach adjustment at all. Adjustment is becoming a very serious problem in the families now. When we were 7 or 9 siblings in one room apartment, we had better adjustment than what we have today when we are having only one child or two child. No. So you need to learn a great deal by way of interacting with your fellow colleagues, and that is what is required in today's time, and for which we need to switch over from the conventional mode of teaching and learning to the interdisciplinary mode of teaching and learning. They will help you develop those generic abilities.
Honorable Speaker, sir, respected Vice Chancellor, sir. First of all, thank you so much for enlightening us with your valuable lecture. Two questions arises in my mind right now. First, according to NEP, at university or college level, we can choose any subject. If we choose a subject where we do not have any prior knowledge, by what percent will we be successful in that subject? And one more question, without having this NEP curriculum in school level, what are the special guidelines to implement this curriculum directly in college and university level?
Yeah.
Phase 1, can you please speak about generic elective course? They say that this particular course students should pursue. This is not they have learned in their school education. Something new. So he's talking about that particular course perhaps. Because in other cases, major or minor, they can take from their own school education, they can continue. But one particular course
If that is the case, in that case the responsibility lies on the teachers who are offering you the program to provide you the prerequisites which are essentially required to develop understanding of the concepts, theories and principles which you are going to learn in the proposed program. For instance, in our premier institutions, when we find, we have an embedded program. If we find that some children are not able to cope up with the curriculum that is envisaged for the students at undergraduate level, the children are given a special orientation by the teachers of that institution. That is what is happening actually. Let me not have any reservations to share it with you. IITs have been doing it like that. If they find that a particular student is lacking in some areas, then they organize the special programs for them. So this is what can be done. It talks about the choices actually. It provides greater opportunity. Okay, and that is what I have also talked to you, that the universities are coming up with the flexible learning pathways, keeping in mind the learning trajectory of each and every learner who comes to them. Okay? So that is what is proposed, and that is what is slightly we have also referred to, not exactly in that sense, but we have come up with the multiple exit and multiple option opportunities. But I think we should go a step further, and we should not only provide them the options of multiple entry and multiple exit, but also the freedom to choose what to study, how to study and where to study. We'll have to make a lot of permutations and combinations, keeping in view the strength of our institution. It's not easy actually to provide that kind of options. You have to have additional human resources, additional infrastructure, for which we need money, and we need other resources as well.
Respected sir, I have a question related to the funding of education in India, sir.
Yeah.
We know that before 50 years, the Kothari Commission recommended 6% of the GDP should be invested in education. But till now, we are investing only 4%. Even the same provision is repeated in NEP 2020 also. In that context, sir, how do you maintain, how the country will maintain both qualitative and quantitative expansion of higher education. One way we are saying increment in gross enrollment ratio. Other way we are saying maintaining quality. And again, we are not attaining that is the benchmark of investment on education. So, what is your observation, sir, on this?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a very important question, actually, and which is why I have come down so close to you. Okay. How did Kothari Commission arrive at that magic figure of 6%? Many people are not aware of that. That magic figure came up because at that point in time, the developed economies were spending close to 6% of their GDP on education, and which is Kothari Commission came up with that magic figure of 6%. But Kothari Commission was a very enlightened commission. The kind of exercise and monumental work that was done by the commission has never ever been done in this country. But he was a pragmatic man, so he said that in a phased manner, we will touch this 6% GDP mark by 1986. That is what is said in the commission. Even today, I have some knack on the figures actually. Even today, United States of America is spending 6% of its GDP. But see the size of the US, they are only as large as the state of Uttar Pradesh and the state of Gujarat. They are only 35 crore people. Okay? And such a filthy, rich country. And look at their GDP. I mean, it is not the correspondence between one GDP with another GDP. It also depends upon the size of the GDP. That's a very rich country. Look at Germany. Look at UK. All of them are, even today, spending around 6% of their GDP on education. We have not been able to do that, as a result of which we have very limited resources, and which is why we are spending only 0.65% of the GDP on research and development. I think the priority of the government should be to increase investment on education if we really want to become a vibrant society, a powerful country. I am not the one who would ever talk about Vishwaguru and all that. Okay? I mean, knowledge is universal. Knowledge belongs to everyone actually. One cannot say that they are the masters of the knowledge. You Google today when you go to your room and you find out that the maximum number of Nobel Prizes back thus far are by the Harvard University. 151 Nobel Prizes from 1903 until this day. 151. The second comes Columbia with 101. And then comes Cambridge and Oxford and universities from France and Germany and all that. So the point is that Kothari had recommended at that time, and we were very small in size at that time. We did not have 1,113 universities or degree awarding institutions. We did not have 56,000 colleges at that point in time in 1966 when the report was submitted to the federal government. And therefore the answer to your question is that the time has come when at the national level we must set up another committee to ascertain the quantum of resources required to educate 27 crore children in the age group from 3 to 18 and 8 crore children in the age cohort of 18 to 24. And those kinds of resources should be made available. It might be more than 6% of the GDP today. But we need to set up a committee. The federal government should demonstrate that capacity and set up a new committee to find out how much resources do we require to empower ourselves. So that is what is needed if you really want to become a force to reckon with, without which we will not be able to empower. And where lies your security as a society? The security lies in the empowerment of the children, isn't it? The contentment lies in their education. If you educate them, only then you can become a contented society. You can be a secure society. So that is what is required. You must build up pressure on the state government and also on the central government through your articles and through your writings and lectures that we must find out how much resources do we require today. Okay?
Thank you, sir. With sincere apology, I would like to let you know that we are unable to take more questions today due to time constraints. But we hope that Dibrugarh University will get more opportunity to have conversation, interaction and suggestions from sir. Thank you, sir, and thank you to all the participants. Okay. As it is declared by Vice Chancellor Sir himself that in the last week of October, we will get more opportunity to have such kind of intellectual and socially relevant conversations with Sir. Thank you. Now we are coming to the ending part of today's program, but before winding up, let's extend sincere words of acknowledgement and gratitude from Dibrugarh University fraternity, its entire members, to respected Professor Prakash sir. From the team IQSC Dibrugarh University, we would like to extend deep sense of gratitude to Professor Jiten Hazarika, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dibrugarh University, for his inaugural speech and guidance in organizing this event. Our words of appreciation must go to respected Registrar Dibrugarh University for his suggestions and all kinds of administrative support. We would remain thankful to the authority of ICSSR Northeastern Regional Center Shillong for sponsoring today's program. We are grateful to the respected deans of different faculties of the university, HODs of the departments and chairpersons of Center for Studies of our university for their gracious presence and cooperation. Our sincere thanks to all the esteemed faculty members, officers, employees, research scholars and students for their presence and support. Special thanks to all the technical and administrative staff for providing their expertise in organizing this event. Thank you once again to each and everyone who has contributed directly or indirectly throughout this program. May I request you all to perform the state anthem to be followed by national anthem.
Oh अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you all, and with this I would like to declare the program over. Thank you.